From dawn to dusk to dawn, during the midnight hour, as the crow flies, like spies on a lonely highway, like thieves of darkness, we watch by the glow of our TV screen. Dana and Steve, the watchers of all that creep and scatter into pitch black corners and tangled webs. If it oozes or bleeds, if it screams and pleads, we watch, speaking in hushed whispers about the delights of all things unspeakable. We watch movies from dawn to dusk to dawn, during the midnight hour, as the crow flies.
And above all, don't forget to watch Evil Dead Chicks Top 10.
Howdy, gang, and welcome to yet another Evil Dead Chicks Top 10. Doesn't look like I'm going to have anybody tonight, but like I said, I'm on here to have fun, and if you have to view these later, you have to view them later. I know that it's a very busy time for many people. They could be traveling. It's getting ever closer to Christmas. They could be preparing for Christmas, any number of things. But I'm going to still be out here, and I'm still kicking, and I'm still going to be making streams and videos. Regardless if nobody watches them live, some people watch them live, a bunch of people watch them later on the replay, or whatever. It does not matter. I'm going to still be out here, kicking my heels up and doing some streams and videos. So tonight's stream for Evil Dead Chicks Top 10, in case you weren't aware, is going to be on Christmas horror. And as always, I'll tell you, these are in no particular order. I'm just going to spit them out here, maybe tell you a little bit about them if I think they're maybe something somebody hasn't seen or possibly even heard of. Some of these are going to be on the more popular side, and people probably know the plots inside out, upside down, sideways, whatever. I have still been sick, but I think I'm finally on the mend. So I just decided, hey, I'll get out here and do a Evil Dead Chicks Top 10. Now, even though there's nobody in here, according to the little counter, maybe there is somebody in here and they're watching and this thing is not registering. And speak of the devil, there's the poet. And I don't mean that offensive to poet. But thank you for stopping in here. At least I don't have to feel lonely that there's nobody in here. It shows that there are 2 people in here, so it must be the poet and one other person, or maybe me and the poet. So I don't think it counts me, but it might. So, but that's neither here nor there. But I wanted to get a little festive and do one of these top 10s for the upcoming Christmas holiday season. And I know the poet likes these. You missed the top 10 song. Well, I tell you what, you'll have to watch it on the replay. I've got a nice Christmassy horror related one. And Poe and Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel are on this one, as well as a creepy simulated Billy from Black Christmas. Whatever the AI thought that Billy from Black Christmas would look like. But before we get to the 10 movies that I picked, I just want to remind everybody that, one, that hopefully, well, this coming week's probably going to be kind of haphazard because there's Christmas Eve and Christmas. And I will definitely not be doing anything those days. But I may try to sprinkle some stuff in and around Christmas Eve and Christmas. But tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time, I do have a Christmas horror related watch along, which you guys and gals chose by poll. Don't open till Christmas. So if you're feeling festive, in the mood for a watch along, stop by and check out my watch along for Don't Open Till Christmas, again starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. All right. Now, the other thing I want to remind people about, as I always do, that as much as I appreciate super chats and super stickers and people joining the channel and people joining the Patreon if they feel so inclined and financially able, as much as I appreciate all of those things, I also realize that, especially in this day and age, and it's getting ever closer to the holidays, people may not have much money. And people aren't made out of money, right? So, or everybody isn't. So I want to share with you some ways that you could support me in the channel and it won't cost you a dime. One of the ways is by subscribing. Folks, there's never a bad time to either subscribe to my channel or one of the many other wonderful channels that are out there. Like I've said before, there are a lot of channels on a lot of different topics. You're bound to find a channel that you enjoy the content, okay? And once you subscribe, you can hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the content that I've got coming out. Hopefully, YouTube's notifications will work, because I have been told, and I've seen other people do videos on this, and some people have actually told me that the notifications didn't let them know that I was doing a stream or that I had a video coming out. So, although it's not 100%, I think it works at least half of the time. You can hit that like button for content that you especially enjoyed. And if you loved it all, hit that like button all across the board. And here's one more way you can support me in the channel, and it won't cost you a dime. And it won't cost anybody you tell about the channel a dime, by the way. Is by sharing with friends and family members my channel that you think might enjoy the content that I'm putting out. All right, and there I've done my spiel, and now it's time to get to these movies. And again, in no particular order as far as favorite to least favorite. They're just would be in my top 10, okay? So the first one is Black Christmas. This is Bob Clark's original creepy, ultra creepy classic from 1974. This is the only Black Christmas for me. Now, I do not hate the is it 2006? The 2006 version as much as I did when I first watched it. I like it, okay, but it's got nothing on the original, folks. And I will tell this story again, and people are probably sick to death of hearing the story of me and Black Christmas, but I'm going to tell it once again. So the first time I watched Black Christmas, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was, I'm not a prude, but I thought it was vulgar, and I didn't think it was really a good film. What in the heck was wrong with me? It's what I keep telling myself now, or asking myself now, because I waited a while. This is why you should wait a while, and then if you hate a movie, wait a while, give it another try a little bit later, maybe in a different atmosphere, because this is what happened to me. The first time I watched it was in broad daylight. I was around other people, etc., etc. So the second time I watched it, I was living with my parents at the time, but my parents and my brother were all in bed. I was staying up late, as I still do. I stayed up late, and I saw it on again on one of the paid channels. So you had all the violence and language and all that stuff in there. And I was in close proximity to a phone. It was late at night. I was the only one in the living room sitting on the floor in front of the TV. I was a lot younger then, and I could do that. Now I have trouble getting up. I'm rather stiff when I try to get up off the floor. But I was so engrossed in it. And it was freaking scary that time. And I don't scare easily with movies. I'm what they call case hardened. Even at that time, I had seen so many horror movies that it's very, very difficult to give me the creepy crawlies and make me scared. And that's not trying to make me sound braver than anybody else. It's just the way I am. I grew up on horror movies, folks. So I was creeped out. And I tell you guys and gals, if that phone had rang while I was watching it in that atmosphere, in the dark, just the glow of the television, nobody else around, just me focused in on this movie. If that phone had rang, I would have jumped out of my skin. I literally would have jumped out of my skin. This movie has the most creepy, sinister person on the other side of the phone voices, mostly done by Nick Mancuso, who is a Canadian actor and has been on other, Canadian films. But Black Christmas basically tells the story of insane Billy, very disturbed Billy, who we don't really know a lot about him. And to Bob Clark's credit, I think that's what makes this movie creepier than the 2006 remake. Because I think they almost gave too much away about Billy. Because in Bob Clark's original classic, you only get little snippets of information that Billy must have had a sister named Agnes, that he must have done something terrible to Agnes. Maybe he and Agnes did something terrible together. You're not sure, but it was something very sinister and very horrific. And Billy has apparently maybe this was his house, but now it's a sorority house. He has crept into the attic. He's crawled up the trellis and went into the attic. He comes down frequently to kill off some of the sorority sisters, many who have left for Christmas vacation. And one girl who gets killed, Claire, gets killed earlier on and spends the majority of the film in a rocking chair in the attic with a plastic bag over her head. And this was Lynn Griffin, the actress, with this plastic bag over her head with a hole poked where her mouth is so that she could breathe. But that was the actress there in the chair. So every time you see Claire, it's Lynn Griffin. It's not a dummy or anything like that, right? So that's the basic story of Black Christmas. I don't want to, flesh it out too much more because that would kind of detract from it, especially if you're not a person that has seen Black Christmas, right? Or maybe you were a person that has seen the 2006 version, but never seen the 1974 version. And if that's the case, in any event, even if you've never seen any version of Black Christmas, I urge you to watch this one. Try to find a for free version right now. I think it may be on Tubi, Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you could watch it, at no extra cost and stuff like that, right? So that is Black Christmas. The next film, and people will laugh because a lot of people do not like this film. And truth be told, I did not like this film. I thought it was slow. I thought it was boring the first time I watched it. And the reason why I even bought this cheapo DVD with it on it from Diamond Entertainment was because I thought it was Silent Night, Deadly Night. But it wasn't. It was Silent Night, Bloody Night, which the picture at the bottom, I'm going to talk about Christmas Evil also, but for the purposes of this DVD, I'm talking about Silent Night, Bloody Night, right? So the second time I watched it, and I waited several years to watch it again, I was like, oh my gosh, this movie is creepy. Again, it has phone calls in it where someone is calling people up and saying, come to my house. It's so lonely here. And then when they get to the house, they're killed off one by one. Some people may still consider this boring. I think the Dead Pit Boys don't like this film and consider it dull and boring. And as Uncle Bill would tell me, it's like watching old people eat. He's told me that about other movies, like He Knows You're Alone and stuff like that, which I also like. But The Silent Night, Bloody Night is from 1973. It's not a very long movie, 83 minutes tops. And it's all about a man, Wilfred Butler, who, when his daughter, Mary Ann, becomes inconsolable and depressed at around age 15, he brings some doctors who turn out to not be very, very good doctors. In fact, he later says they acted like bad relations. He invites them to his house, turns his house basically into an asylum. These doctors bring other patients and they put them in the barn. It's, horrible. Just let them, they're packed, with no space, they're packed in like a can of sardines or something, left in darkness, left dirty. and to their own devices. They're not cared for at all. And these are people that need the doctor's help as much or maybe more than Marianne does. But they abuse them. They don't help Marianne. And around Christmas time, they just completely they get drunk. They eat all Wilford Butler's food, and as he says, they act like poor relations. So, Wilford Butler has basically watched his daughter descend into madness, basically, or catatonia, I guess, would be the more appropriate term. And he's just had it. He can't stand these doctors just doing whatever they want and not helping his daughter. And so he goes and gets his daughter and gets her out of the house. And then he sets the inmates loose. They come into the house and kill the doctors off. And they apparently kill Marianne. We don't know for sure, but that is what Wilford Butler says in his diary. That he does not know when Marianne slipped away from him, but she must have went back in the house. The inmates thought that she was one of the doctors and that had tortured them and stuff, and they killed her. So we're led to believe that either Wilford Butler is dead due to catching himself on fire accidentally in the 1950s, or he's still lurking around somewhere, or he's dead and Marianne is lurking around, and that's who's killing people off. Now, I'm not going to tell you which is which and which is the truth and all that, because if you watch the film, I don't want to spoil it for you before you watched it, right? So then we get to the present, which is 1973 or possibly 72. And an inmate has escaped from an asylum and has taken a car. And also, Wilford Butler's grandson, Jeffrey Butler, is supposed to be coming to, I believe it's the town of Willard. And he is supposed to be settling his grandfather's affairs and possibly selling the house to a group of people in the town, the mayor, the sheriff, Tess, the telephone operator, back in the days when we had those, where they would plug into the switchboard and, you still had party lines at that time. It was a whole different world than it is now with us, with our more modern phones and cell phones and all of that. And I think that, the atmosphere and the way technology was back in those days made these films work better. They probably would not work as well in modern times, especially a movie like Silent Night, Bloody Night. There's also a lawyer that comes with his mistress, and they're going to stay at the Butler house, and they're going to help Jeffrey Butler get things in order as far as with the townspeople about what they want to do with Jeffrey's grandfather's house. So there's one murder early on that is very bloody. It's an axe murder. In fact, an axe is used more than once in the film to kill people. And I was like, whoa, this is bloody. So again, if you've seen Silent Night, Bloody Night, and you didn't recall liking it or thinking it was boring, I say give this one another try. And you know, if you've had a change of heart or this is your first time watching it and you enjoy it, or even if you hate it, I would love to hear your thoughts on Silent Night, Bloody Night. Right? All right. That's Silent Night, Bloody Night. And of course, I don't think I need to rate each one of these because I can tell you guys and gals right now, they would all be 5 deadites out of 5. Right? In fact, I can even put that up there for you guys and gals, right? I'll just say all of these movies are going to get 5 deadites out of 5, folks. I'm going to move there we go, move the logo back over on the other side so that y'all can clearly see the deadites rating scale. So just wanted to put that out there because I'm not going to like go through each one of these and say, you know, they wouldn't be in my top 10 if they weren't good movies, right? All right. So the next one is Don't Open Till Christmas, and I can't show you the Vinegar Syndrome cover because it has a naked lady showing her bosoms on there. So I don't want to get in trouble with the gods of YouTube, okay? So this is Don't Open Till Christmas. I really like this artwork. It was on the original posters and stuff of the knife going into the prison, and then you've got the creepy kind of text. Don't open till is white and looks like snow, and then Christmas is below that. And I don't know why I forgot to talk about Christmas Evil, but anyway, I will talk about it in a minute. But Don't Open Till Christmas. Some people don't like Don't Open Till Christmas, and I think probably it's because it's low budget, and some of it's kind of hokey. Caroline Monroe does a song and dance number, and I love Caroline Monroe, but folks, I don't know if she was told to do this or maybe she was just uncomfortable with doing this, but her body is so stiff in that song and dance number that, I'm sorry, Miss Monroe, it just looks ridiculous. But despite all of those things, I still enjoy this as a great Christmas horror movie and one that I do watch every year. Now, was it at the start of my Christmas horror movie watching days? No. I discovered this one about midway through that. And I was like, wow, you know, I enjoyed this one. It's just a shame that I didn't discover it earlier. This one does not have a killer Santa Claus or a killer dressed as Santa Claus. This has the reverse. It has a killer killing guys dressed as Santa Claus. And you might get killed too if you're in close proximity of a person dressed as Santa Claus, or you might get killed later, right? This has Edmund Purdom in it. Edmund Purdom is listed as the director, but I think he either left the project at some point or got fired from the project at some point. So there were several different cooks in the kitchen with Don't Open Till Christmas. And that might be another reason why people don't like it as well as some of the others. It's pretty bloody in spots. One guy gets his wang doodle cut off as he's taking a pee. And I was like, well, that's pretty bloody, you know. But it's not, you know, I wouldn't call it a gore film, and I wouldn't call it an extremely gory film. But I definitely would refer to it as a slasher film, as most of these that I'm going to talk about, they fit that mold of a slasher film. So that's Don't Open Till Christmas. And by the way, I will recommend each and every one of these. If you can find a for free version of them, please, please, by all means, give them a try. All right. So the next one is Christmas Evil, and it does have a guy dressed as Santa Claus killing people. Now, I've always said to Steve, and me and him have discussed this more than once, and I'm sure there are other people that have watched this, and Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which I'm also going to talk about on this stream, that have wondered how this one slipped under everybody's radar. And the Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original one, did not, and caused an uproar, and TriStar pulled it from theaters and all that. It could be because this was extremely low budget, and there probably weren't a ton of posters. I think the poster for Silent Night, Deadly Night is what got parents and other people outraged before the movie even came out, because they would bring their young children to see a holiday, a family friendly or kid friendly movie, and they'd see these posters for Silent Night, Deadly Night of what appeared to be a Santa Claus going down a chimney with an axe in his hand. And they lost it. It's like, oh my gosh, what kind of horrible movie is this? Also, Christmas Evil may have not had the advertising, on television, the trailers and stuff, that Silent Night, Deadly Night did. I would be willing to bet no. But Christmas Evil concerns a man, Harry, who, when he was a little boy, he snuck downstairs, and he saw what appeared to be Santa Claus being very intimate with his mother. And it disturbed him so much that when he grew up into a man, working in a toy factory, it's also a character study. And people are probably saying, oh God, don't tell me it's a character study. But it is really about a man slowly losing his grip on reality until he believes he is Santa, and that he needs to punish the naughty kids and the naughty adults, and reward the good kids and good adults, right? But most of the adults he considers bad or naughty, as we'll revisit. Chris, that's a good point. I wasn't thinking about that part of it. I guess I was thinking of in the United States. But you are correct in saying I wouldn't say Christmas Evil went under people's radar, since it was seized and banned in the UK and was a part of the Video Nasties list. Chris, do you recall if that one was actually prosecuted, or was it on that second list? Was it on the original DPP list, where people actually got arrested for selling it? But again, Chris is correct in saying that it didn't slip under some people's radar. But as far as the United States was concerned, I don't think that people were outraged over Christmas Evil in the United States. Not in the way that Silent Night, Deadly Night outraged people. And I don't even know if Christmas Evil played in the theaters in the United States. So I know I never heard of any controversy in the United States regarding Christmas Evil. But again, Chris is correct in saying that it was, seized and banned in the UK. And part of the Video Nasties. I just am not sure which list it was on. There was one list where they were actually prosecuted, and people that got caught selling it, some of those people went to jail, which I think is a bunch of hoopla. But That's part of the that video nasty debacle. But so Harry soon begins to believe that he is Santa Claus, even going so far as to glue a Santa beard to his face. And in one of the more creepy scenes in this movie, laughs as he goes, and he's pulling on the beard and it doesn't come off. And then it's me. And then he keeps going, further and further into madness, and then starts killing people, including one horrific moment where he kills some people outside of a church as they're coming out from Christmas Eve Mass. Very, very disturbing. Like I said, it is, to me, in a lot of ways, it's more disturbing than Silent Night, Deadly Night could ever be. Because you are allowed to get inside Harry's head, which is not necessarily a good place to be, folks. As he slowly and methodically loses his mind. And Harry was played, the adult Harry was played by Brandon Maggart, who, for those of you that don't know, is Fiona Apple's father. People might be saying, who the hell is Fiona Apple? But several years ago, Fiona Apple was a big thing. She was a singer. I haven't heard a lot from her in a few years, but at one time, Fiona Apple was a hot commodity in the music world. But Brandon Maggart is her father. And another thing, this is, in John Waters' opinion, the greatest Christmas movie ever made. And I had, to go back to Black Christmas a second, I always heard, and I don't know if this was wrong, but I've heard it more than once, that Black Christmas was a movie that Elvis watched with his family every year. I just could not imagine Elvis Presley, watching Black Christmas. But, I had heard that more than once, folks. So I don't, I cannot in truth say whether this is a thing or not, whether that's real or not. But again, I've heard it more than once. So moving on to the next film, Pranks, aka The Dorm That Dripped Blood, aka Death Dorm. Again, this is another low budget cheapie, folks. But I enjoy it. And I think it's got some fantastic special effects by Matthew Mungle. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I hope that's his name. And it has a very early acting shot for Daphne Zuniga. And Daphne Zuniga was very, very young on this. I think, this was before the initiation, which she was quite young in the initiation as well. Daphne Zuniga was in another Christmas film that wasn't a horror film or a Christmas-based film called The Sure Thing, which, it doesn't start out Christmassy, but it moves really quickly into the Christmas season. But this concerns a group of 4 or 5 students. It starts out 5. Chris, have I seen Violent Night? I'm trying to remember if I have or not. I'm trying to remember if that's the one of those I saw with Steve, but I cannot recall. Are you putting that one up as a top 10 Christmas horror film, Chris? But Daphne Zuniga does not get to stay. Came out in 2022. Yeah, I remember when it came out. I just can't recall if I. Yeah, and David Harbour is in it. Yeah, I knew all that. I just my brain, is mush a lot of times. You wouldn't consider it horror though, but you do like it a lot. Would you consider it more of like a action thriller type of thing? I, if I haven't seen it, I need to give it a try. Um, Steve might even have it somewhere. A lot of times, um, he has these things in one form or another. But to get back to the Dorm that Dripped Blood, aka Pranks and Death Dorm, so it ends up there's four of these college students. Comedy, action, thriller. Okay, interesting that there's comedy in there. But um, they're staying behind. There's a dorm really that's condemned, and they're going to tear it down. But they've got Joanne and three other students at the college to stay there over Christmas vacation. Instead of going home to spend time with their families, they're going to clean out all the desks and the beds and all this stuff out of the dorm and sell all the stuff off, so that they can tear the dorm down, um, and build like apartments there or something. But there's somebody, lurking around the campus, and I don't want to tell you who it is because that would ruin the surprise. Is killing off people in and around this college. Um, but some people don't like this movie either. And perhaps it's because, like I said, it's that ultra low budget, cheapy type of film. But the special effects are great in it. There's one special effect in particular that I really enjoy because it looks so good. If you're really, really looking at it, you can tell some of it's fake. But a guy gets his head drilled from the back, and the special effects are really, really good for that one. And again, that's the Dorm that Dripped Blood, aka Pranks, aka Death Dorm. And this is the director's cut under the Death Dorm title. And this was put out by Synapse Films many moons ago. And Steve bought it, I think, at a convention or something. I don't know why he bought it because he doesn't even like it. He ended up giving it to me. Which, moving along, we're going to talk about the first and second one in close succession. First up is Silent Night, Deadly Night. There's that image of what looks like Santa Claus going down the chimney with an axe. This is what angered a lot of parents, this poster, right? It says, "You made it through Halloween, now try and survive Christmas." Now, when I first saw Silent Night, Deadly Night, I rented it. I did not, see it in the early days of the theater before it was pulled by TriStar. I knew nothing of the outrage around this movie. I just saw it on a video shelf at my local grocery store back when the grocery stores used to have little, video displays where you could rent videos. And I was like, ooh, this one looks interesting. So I rented it, took it home, watched it. And this movie concerns Billy and to some extent his brother Ricky, but his brother Ricky is more a part of part two. So this is mostly about little Billy, who is subjected to a very horrifying Christmas Eve night. First, he's told by his mentally ill grandfather that Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year, and if he's naughty, Santa's going to punish him. And then a guy dressed as Santa, a very evil guy, ends up killing Billy's parents and leaving Billy and his infant brother Ricky out in the elements. They get, eventually sent to a Catholic orphanage where the nuns are, Mother Superior is not too nice. I'm not meaning to talk bad about Catholics, because I'm sure all Catholics are not like this. But this Mother Superior is not nice. She doesn't like Billy. She thinks, whipping him with a belt and stuff like that is going to help him get over seeing his parents murdered on Christmas Eve many years ago. Let's see, Chris, you say, what do you think is the worst of the Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels? I don't really care for any after the third one. And the third one's running a fine line, Chris. I think what makes that one watchable for me is Bill Moseley playing Ricky with a, as people say, a salad bow on his head to protect his brain. But Billy is scared to death of Santa and anybody dressed as Santa. He's just absolutely terrified, understandably so. And Mother Superior tries to make him sit on Santa's lap and show gratitude for his Christmas present. And he ends up punching the guy dressed as Santa in the nose, giving him a bloody nose. The guy says, "What the hell's wrong with this kid?" Then Billy grows up, and Sister Margaret, who has always been kind to Billy, tries to get him a job at the local toy store, Ira's Toys. And she talks Mr. Sims into hiring Billy. And Billy does pretty well until it gets to Christmas season. And then he starts, freaking out. But then Mr. Sims asks Billy to dress as Santa Claus. That sets off a very bad string of activity from Billy, where he goes completely berserk, kills people in the toy store, and then heads out to kill people out in the neighborhood that he deems naughty. All right. Chris, you say, to me, 5 is a lot better than 4. And it's interesting because Mickey Rooney is in 5. And he was one of the people who boycotted the original film. Yeah, I always thought that was, odd that Mickey Rooney did that. I'm sure he had his reasons, but, and we may never, I'm sure those reasons are not going to surface now. But I don't know. I remember watching 4 and 5, and I just don't, maybe, yeah, money talks. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But maybe I need to give them another chance, but I just remember initially not liking any of them after part 3. Which, moving along, of course, we got to talk about the sequel. Now, for those of you that have maybe never seen either one of these films, hey, you get 2 for 1 with Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, because the majority of the action-packed footage from Silent Night, Deadly Night is included in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, but this time around it's Ricky, little brother Ricky, who at the end of Silent Night, Deadly Night sees something horrible happen to his brother, and he says, "Naughty," and then he dons the Santa suit and an axe and goes on a killing spree. All right. So, but this one has got quite a bit of black humor, dark humor, whatever you want to call it, inserted into it, which may make it one that people say, oh, well, that's not real horror because it's so hokey or corny at some parts, including the classic line, garbage day, which I have to laugh every time Eric Freeman says that in the movie. And he only says it once, folks. But I mean, every time I watch the film and I hear him say it, I just have to laugh. Now, I don't know if Eric Freeman, I love Eric Freeman, folks, because he's just so entertaining in this. But I don't know if he was told to act this way by the director or anything, or he was just maybe inexperienced and, you know, the eyebrow action in this film from Eric Freeman is just outrageous and so entertaining. So, you know, there's not a whole lot more to say about it, but you could skip Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first one altogether, and just watch this. And like I said, you get a 2-for-1 deal there. Which brings me, we're down to the final 3, folks. So this is one that maybe not a lot of people have heard about. To All a Good Night, directed by David Hess. Yes, that David Hess from Last House on the Left, folks. Starring Jennifer Runyon. I really enjoy this movie. Yeah, it's low budget. Yeah, people might think it's some of it's corny and stuff. Right? Sandy Coe produced it, folks. And people might say, no, I don't want to watch that. But this movie, to me, it's fun. And you have not one killer Santa or somebody dressed as Santa, but you've got 2 individuals dressed as Santa killing people off at a finishing school or a boarding school or whatever you want to call it for girls. And we start out with a girl being chased. I guess it's like a sorority because you hear the girls chasing her, sorority, and one of them has a Santa Claus mask and they're carrying an axe and they're chasing her. And apparently we find out later they gave this girl drugs. Apparently she was getting initiated and she accidentally falls out a window to her death. And then the movie really gets started with these girls staying behind at the school for the holidays. Again, you know, I don't know why anybody would want to stay behind instead of going and spending Christmas with their families, but the various girls, not Jennifer Runyon's character of Nancy says that she wants to go home for Christmas. So I'm not really sure why she's staying. The other girls are wanting to get it on with their boyfriends and stuff like that. So, but apparently somebody is very upset by the death of the girl from the beginning. And so it's a revenge scenario. And we've seen this 100 gazillion times in slasher films. But I still enjoy this one. There's some interesting kills in it. Interesting places where body parts show up. I'll just say that. The only thing about this movie, even in Blu-ray form, is it's a little dark in spots, folks. I ain't going to lie to you about that. But to me, that's really the only drawback to it. And it's obvious, this isn't really a drawback for me, but it's obvious that they shot day for night in several shots. So be aware of that. But that is To All a Good Night. the next one, now, some people might say, that's not Christmas horror, Dana, but it is, because there are signs of Christmas all around this movie in different spots. You see Christmas lights, you see, I believe you see Christmas trees at some point in time, but you may be so focused on the main character in this that you don't notice the Christmas elements. It is also, there's also snow on the ground as well. But that's Maniac, folks. And some people might say, well, that's just a seedy, greasy exploitation film, Dana. How could you have this in there? Well, one, because it's Christmas horror. I consider it Christmas horror. It's got Joe Spinell in it, and Joe Spinell is the maniac in this. And once this movie gets started, it does not stop. So you have Joe Spinell playing Frank Zito in the movie. And this is directed by William Lustig, who did a lot of different films, including the Maniac Cop film. And this concerns poor Frank Zito, who was abused by his mother, burned with cigarettes and stuff by his mother when he was a little boy. And then she'd go out whoring around. So he grew up, having a very bad image of women, in particular. And so what little Frank Zito, or Big Frank Zito, wants to do now is to find women that he thinks are like his mother, and he wants to kill them, and he wants to scalp them and take their hair and put them on mannequins. He also takes the clothes that they have on and puts them on these mannequins, and he sits around in his little apartment and cries and talks to the mannequins, and stuff like that. And this is also the movie that Tom Savini blowed his own head off, and as he plays Disco Boy in this film. So I don't know. I think it is a great horror film. And yeah, it's exploitation through and through. But does that have to have a bad connotation to it? No, I don't think so. But that is Maniac. I remember the first time I watched it, I rented it just on a whim, just blind rental, didn't know anything about it. And it was another one where I was sitting there watching. My mom comes walking through the room right when these people get killed on the beach, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Dana, what are you watching?" And I said, "Some movie called Maniac." She said, "Oh my gosh, that's awful." But my mom was always a big horror fan. In fact, I credit my mom with getting me into horror movies, right? And so, I don't think my mom ever, she maybe sat down and watched it later on with me and watched the whole movie, but I'm just not really sure. But I do remember that she was shocked by that beginning scene. Chris, you say, my opinion is that regardless if it would be considered a traditional Christmas movie, if it takes place during the Christmas season, it's a Christmas movie. And I totally agree. Totally agree with that, Chris. Which brings me to the last film, which does take place in and around Christmas time. But some people might not consider it horror. But there are some horrific things that happen in this, folks. And that is Gremlins. And I absolutely, positively love Gremlins. And although little Gizmo there, cute little Gizmo, is not the source of horror, but the creatures, Stripe included, that are spawned from little Gizmo getting wet Sorry about that. That's a reminder for me to turn off the heater back here. Um, if y'all can ignore that, I find it hard sometimes to ignore it. Um, but the spawn that comes from little Gizmo getting wet um, produces creatures called the gremlins that cause havoc on a small town during the Christmas season. If you've never seen Gremlins, which I'd be hard pressed to find at this point, many people that have not seen Gremlins or heard of Gremlins or anything like that. But if you have never seen Gremlins, I urge you to seek this one out and watch it. Again, preferably in a for free version. This movie also has a lot of heart. It's not all horror, but it does have some horrific scenes in it, which is why I wanted to include it in my top 10 Christmas horror, right? So I've been on here a little over an hour, folks, all told. So I'm going to try to tie this up and get on off here for the night. But I want to thank the poet and Chris in particular for being in here and hanging out in the chat and keeping me company in the chat tonight. And for those of you that maybe were watching along that either didn't feel comfortable getting in the chat, or maybe you were watching this on the device where you couldn't chat, I thank you for being in here as well. And for those of you that will watch it on the replay, if you were super busy wrapping Christmas presents or something like that and couldn't get on here at the time that I was live, if you watch this on the replay, I thank you guys and gals as well, folks. And as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And to spread a little holiday message to you folks out there that's pertinent at any time, but it's especially important to remember during the holiday season. If you've been having some disagreements with friends or family members, now is the time, especially if you've told another person, hey, I don't want to talk to you ever again. Don't reach out to me. Don't talk to me. Okay? Wouldn't it be great for that person as well as yourself to try for you to reach out to them during this holiday season and say, hey, man, maybe it's time we, buried the hatchet, right? And if you don't feel like doing it now, maybe think of it for a New Year's resolution, folks. Because as my good friend Candace always says, and Chris can attest to this, we're never promised a tomorrow. No one is promised a tomorrow. And I would hate when our life on this planet is over, I would hate for us to have regrets that, gee, maybe I should have reached out to that person. Maybe I was a little harsh on that person. Maybe I was a little hard on them. I just don't want anybody to have any regrets when that time comes. So, in closing, if you love Ozzy as much as I do, get out there and blast some Ozzy, because when I'm feeling bad, I put on a little Ozzy and I always feel better. Almost instantly, I feel better. But if you're not a fan of Ozzy, if you have another musician that you like to listen to and that cheers you up, by all means, break out those Christmas tunes. I was dancing around singing in the kitchen today to Christmas music, right? And remember, folks, I love each and every one of you out there. And now I'm going to get out of here. But if I don't talk to some of you before the Christmas season, have a very Merry Christmas, guys and gals, and a Happy New Year if I don't talk to you until after the New Year. And I'll see everybody next time.